Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. 30 minutes past the hour, folks. Make sure and tune in. I'll have Keith Engel on, going over some college basketball questions with Keith. You know, he is really in tune with the college basketball, college sports in general. Maybe you can make a little money wagering the brackets next week. We got the conference tournaments. They're going on as we speak. Those games will get more and more intense as this week goes on. And, of course, we'll have the conference championships Saturday and Sunday for the bigger conferences. I know some of the smaller conferences have already made the tournament, but we'll have selection Sunday, this coming up Sunday. So going to get some tips from Keith Engel. I take them. Keith really knows his stuff in college basketball. I also want to ask Keith, big New England Patriot fan, going to ask him about Mac Jones and whatnot. But before that, big move here out of Nashville. Titans signed Calvin Ridley. Scoop him up away from the Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Everybody thought he was going to sign back with Jacksonville. They were dragging their feet. Looks like it may have been a money issue. Not quite sure. Tennessee, second most cap room in the NFL at the start of free agency. Swoops in. Very good pickup here. Do not think they overpaid. I'll get into that. Plus the Chargers, as expected, they cut Mike Williams. But they kept Khalil Mack, who is really playing at a high level. I was looking at Mack here. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and take our first and only break. And I'll be back here in 49 seconds. We'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, looks like I'm back here live. Okay, so Chargers making some big moves. Not really sure if they're done yet. Not sure if they are done yet. As I said, I expected this team to do is to make some adjustments, particularly with Mike Williams, who is always hurt. A very talented player, 6'4", really good end zone guy, red zone guy, kind of like a Mike Evans, who's going to be a Hall of Famer for Tampa. Very good player. Probably shouldn't have extended him. The previous, I think his name was Pelissero, general manager. I can understand the justification of firing him now, looking at some of the extensions he done with Derwin James, who has been hurt. Big playmaker. Man, he's $18 million plus cap hit. And of course, extending this often injured Mike Williams, who was hurt his rookie year. Talented, but injured all the time. Only played 3 games last year, Mike Williams. Tore his ACL. Now, Jim Harbaugh came in. They were over the cap. This thing come down to the last minute, folks. We're talking an hour and a half before this thing is set to be done or the Chargers are going to get penalized. They were over the cap. They released Mike Williams. May bring him back, but it saves them $20 million. Gets them below the cap here. Thought they may move on from 33-year-old, who just turned 33, by the way. I'm going to make sure and be clarified on that. Khalil Mack. But listen, folks, Mack's numbers are good. 17 sacks last year for Khalil Mack at 32 years old. The 2 years they've had him, he has not missed a game. I want to say he had 8 sacks the year before that. So they kept him and adjusted. He could have played hardball and wanted to get ousted to be a free agent so he can go play elsewhere. Khalil Mack did not do that. That's another sign that he likes what this Charger team is going to do under Jim Harbaugh. This is a very talented team. It does not need to be rebuilt. It just needs to be retweaked here and there, and you have yourself a team that can win this division. Had the talent to do it last year. I would say they probably need a defensive tackle per se. Not the best run defense in the world. Very good pass rush. With Joey Bosa and, of course, Khalil Mack. Now, so anyways, I did read some notes here. And, of course, they have let, they let Eric Kendricks go in free agency. They let there's 2 linebackers that's going in free agency. One of them signed with the Titans. And, of course, Kendricks now, he's with the Cowboys. The Cowboys have finally signed somebody. Okay. But I want to go back here. And there was a note made by one of these NFL reporters saying that essentially there could be some more moves to be made. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN says Friday, Joey Bosa, which is this Friday, folks, $7 million roster bonus for the pass rusher they took. I want to say he was like a top 10 pick here. First round pick there when he was drafted back in 2016. $7 million roster bonus, which will be due Friday. Sunday, Keenan Allen will be I think they're going to keep Allen. I think they're going to probably work out something. Keep Keenan Allen, although he's a little older than Mike Williams, much more consistent, better catcher of the football. Plus, he's just a more durable player, folks. So that's $12 million between those 2 players right there. I'm saying all that to say this. I think this team, they're gearing up for a run here. I think they'll probably try to keep Fowler says this could trigger some action urgency if the team wants to entertain a potential trade. Yes, they could trade these players for draft picks. They could trade them for draft picks or a player to be. Again, they need a tackle. They need a tackle, a defensive tackle to help stop the run. They could trade these players and move out and go out and get a tackle like a DJ Reader who's available from Cincinnati that everybody's talking about. Okay. But anyways, I had to say that. Back to my notes here. Okay. As far as there are no mock drafts, most of them are saying right tackle or left tackle to right, whether it be Joe Alt. They pick ahead of Tennessee, who a lot of people was picking Tennessee to get Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, or this JC. I noticed that Mel Kiper changed his to JC Latham, right tackle out of Alabama. But what they want to do is, who did they get? Austin. No, they let Austin. I think they got Gus Edwards. That's funny. I think they traded running backs, I want to say, with the Commanders. The Commanders have Eckler. They have Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards. Same area, different team. He actually comes from Baltimore. At first, I thought they had Gibson, but I think it's Gus Edwards. Means no, never mind. Latham, very good run blocker, right tackle out of Alabama. Okay, they've already got Rashawn Slater. That's why I don't think they're going to get a left tackle, because Slater's pretty solid there on the left side. What Jim Harbaugh's wanting to do here, him and Greg Roman. Greg Roman is the coach who coached that very physical team of Jim Harbaugh's with the 49ers, folks. Remember that? I want to say Frank Gore was still on that team. Very physical team with Colin Kaepernick and Greg Roman, who also coached Lamar Jackson. Got a lot of heat because he didn't open it up in Denver or in Baltimore, and of course he was out. But works well with Jim Harbaugh. Justin Herbert, they're going to run the ball more. They're going to be physical. Herbert's going to be running some. He'll be running a little bit as well. You just hope he doesn't get injured. But they're going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch in the NFL this coming up season. They're in the process of doing that right now. Some mock drafts have got them trading down a little bit and getting another pick here as well, because that they're right there at the 5th pick. They've got Justin Herbert. They're not going to need a quarterback. Somebody could very well jump the Giants, who all reports are, I've been talking about this on my program here for the past week or so, that Daniel Jones, that they're having buyer's remorse. They're wanting to move on. They've already moved off of Saquon Barkley. They're wanting to move on Daniel Jones and probably get a quarterback. Possibility J.J. McCarthy could go with that. Former Michigan Wolverine could go to the Giants there in case somebody else wants him. What if Drake May falls? Okay, so anyways, what I'm saying is this is the first step. This is the first step for this LA Charger team. They've got their cap thing situated. They're probably going to bring in some more players. Their biggest need is tackle. They probably need a tight end. Brock Bowers has come up on some mock drafts there, not unless they can find. By the way, DJ Humphries from Arizona just got released. Okay, so maybe they bring in a DJ Humphries, 30 years old, not too old, can still play, and maybe move him over to right tackle, former Arizona Cardinal, to right tackle. Tyron Smith is still out there, former Dallas Cowboy. Now, he's also a left tackle. Could you move Slater to right tackle and put one of these guys there? And then they could take a big-time skill player at that 5 spot there or trade it down and still get a Brock Bowers or Rome Odunze if they cannot bring back Mike Williams. Williams, again, he's hurt all the time. Somebody's want to get him for a major discount, my guess is. So either way, I expect this team to be good. I expect them to be a playoff team. I want to say it's a handful of teams that are in the playoffs, different teams. I want to say it's 5, but it may be 7 teams that are in the playoffs that were not in the playoffs this year. Houston might not make it next year. Okay. Green Bay could have been a flash of it. They might not make it next year. The 49ers might not make it next year. Out of the AFC, what if Lamar Jackson gets hurt and they don't make it? What if Pittsburgh falls apart and they don't make it? Buffalo could not make it. So it's good. There's going to be a different team in here. My guess is, as of today, even with their salary cap, that team's going to be the Chargers. That's why so many people were just really calling for Staley the last couple of years, but particularly last year, even before he was actually fired. Because this team is just way too talented. I think Roman's going to be a big hit there with Justin Herbert, in my humble opinion. All righty then. I know a lot of you are curious about this next tape. The Tennessee Titans. I had Rich Ferris on yesterday. Go back and listen to that show. Great show with Rich. A lot of insight. Works at the Titans flagship station. Has a lot of contacts and insights there. He does promotion. He works their art there. But he has ears. He goes to a lot of these games with the Titans. Tune into that show. You can find it anywhere. You can find it here, obviously, on the YouTube page, but you can find it at Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast, by the way. Okay? Rich was great, by the way. Titans last minute. I've been reading, and I talked about this yesterday with Rich Ferris. I did not know this, but the Titans' new offensive coordinator, the Titans' new offensive coordinator, I think was either a quarterback coach or a wide receiver coach here. Nick Holtz here, keep that name in mind, was working with Jacksonville last year. Of course, I can look it up while we're talking here. I don't know if he's kin to Lou Holtz or not, but I know this. Nick Holtz had the insight on Calvin Ridley, and this guy, pretty young guy too. So what was he last year? Passing game. Yeah, they got these weird oddball positions I've never heard of before. Passing game coordinator. But that's what Nick Holtz was. So he was the passing game coordinator for Jacksonville last year. Had a lot of good insight on Calvin Ridley. Now, Calvin Ridley, like I said, I was really shocked, to say the least, because there was a trade made that Jacksonville really, and you got to blame Trent Baalke for this. They made a trade for him, and they lost a pick. They lost a second-round pick. They lost one pick, and then they lost another pick today for Calvin Ridley. Okay, and Tennessee went in there and scooped in and got him. Okay, this is an interesting story. This is playing around. You're probably off by a few million here. You've already made that. This guy caught 76 balls, 8 touchdowns, and a lot of that was when Trevor Lawrence was injured last year. He missed the game, and he was playing hurt towards the very end of the season. Calvin Ridley was, So essentially, he was traded to Jacksonville in exchange for a 2023 fifth-round pick and a conditional fourth-round pick in 24. That selection was bumped up to a third due to Ridley hitting trade incentives. Okay, so they essentially lost those picks, and then turn around. Baalke, the general manager, let him slide through the hand. I tell you what this really reminds me of. This was supposed to have been between New England and Jacksonville. Tennessee was not even a player in this race for Calvin Ridley. Okay, he was not considered a player in this particular race for Calvin Ridley. This was between New England and Jacksonville for this particular player. It reminds me of the back and forth when Shaq was a free agent back in 98 or 99. I think it was 99. 98 in the 99 season. He was a free agent with the Orlando Magic, right? And it's a lot of back and forth that summer with the Magic, with Shaq. Thought he was going to re-sign. The negotiations drag on. We're already in the free agent period where the Magic lose their rights. They are, air quote, negotiating with the free agent, which is dangerous. Okay. Jacksonville has been negotiating with the free agent, which is dangerous, since Monday, folks, at 11 a.m. 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. Okay, I'm just trying to paint a picture for you. All right, they had been negotiating with him dangerously, because he's a pretty hot commodity, and knowing that anybody could come in there and scoop him up like an eagle going after a rat, down in the bushes, just coming down there, or going down in the ocean, getting a good getting a raw fish there and getting him some dinner, right? Seagull, whatever. Anywho, that's what happens. I mean, So Tennessee gets him. People a little bit frantic about the numbers. Yeah, 4 years, 50 million guaranteed. Albert Breer, here it is. Okay. Albert Breer, I think he's with the NFL Network, either Fox or an NFL Network. He says, we see here the final numbers came out, but a $23 million per year that shapes us as an incredibly strong deal. I hear yesterday the Patriots were right at 22 and the Jags were at 20. So Tennessee outbid them by $1 million. Okay. But you see that, and it's 50 million guaranteed through 4 years. Okay. That's 50 million guaranteed. 4 year, 92 million. 50 guaranteed through 4 years. Ranks 10th amongst active contracts. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad for this market. That's a true number one. Guy's 29 years old. Okay, we know he got suspended for a season. Again, 76 catches, 8 touchdowns last year. All right. And I was watching some of these highlights here, and a lot of those big catches were in traffic. Well, when he was really not open, Lawrence just threw it up and he went up there, got the football here. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, considering the fact that Tennessee, it takes the pressure off Tennessee to feel obligated. We know they're going to go tackle in the first round. There's too many high quality. There's a tackle out of Oregon State. He keeps going up the charts. You've heard me say this ad nauseum, folks. There's Joe Alt's the number one guy. That's who they want. That's who I know they want. Just got to be there at 7. Okay, they'll probably get Alt if he's there, or Fashanu, left tackle out of Penn State. If those two guys are off the board, I doubt it, but you never know. And crazier things can happen, right? If they're off the board, there's one out of Oregon State that may be of interest to the Titans. I really don't think, especially with the very strong possibility this thing is going to go quarterback 1, quarterback 2, quarterback 3. We know Malik Neighbors is going to get drafted in there somewhere. We know that Marvin Harrison Jr., who people are still very high on draft boards, he's going to be in there somewhere. So that's 5, right? Then you got 6 and 7 here. So I think one of those guys will be available. All right. So this takes a huge burden off the Titans. Okay. You've got Will Levis, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, very good running back core there. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and of course, Aquano. And this guy didn't even mention Trayvon Burks. He didn't even mention Burks here, who maybe they move off of, maybe they don't. I don't think they will. I think this is a make or break year for Burks, the former first round pick made by the last general manager here. Okay, so the Titans have quietly gotten a lot of momentum as this week started. Okay, they got a solid center out of Denver there to cover that position here. They signed Owasawu Crescenberry's the center out of Denver. Owasawu out of Cincinnati at cornerback position here. Very good cornerback, still in his 20s as well. And then, of course, you've got Calvin Ridley, big jump there. Throw in Tony Pollard there. They're not obligated to get a running back now. They've already got a young running back. They got a veteran running back still in his prime, 27-year-old Tony Pollard here. And of course, they got the linebacker there out of the Chargers there, which was either first or second on his team in tackles. Very good pickup there as well. But now they've got the big hit here, which was Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley here. to with DeAndre Hopkins here. So now Hopkins can play the slot. Ridley can play the outside. Will Levis, there's some video of him and DeAndre Hopkins getting into a heated exchange last year when Levis took over as the starter. Okay. That seemed to dissipate a few games later. DeAndre Hopkins is saying, listen, this guy could be a star. I really think he's going to be a star. We saw him with the scout team in camp here. My only issue with him is he's got to have pocket awareness here. But listen, they've got the new center. They've got Sonorski, who I know is a good hit at guard. I've seen enough of him to make me a believer. Then you got the left tackle here. Now they still got right guard and tackle. It looks like they're okay with that, but we'll see, and we'll have to let that play out though, per se. Okay, but this team could very well be a dark horse and make the playoffs next year. They could still win this division. I'm not a fanboy of that nature. I'm not hyperbolic. I call balls and strikes. If it's bad news, I'm going to tell you. But with this offensive-minded head coach, and you got Rand Carthon spending a lot of money now, money's starting to really add up now. Concool was a big hit at tight end, okay? You got a Concool. Spears is a hit at running back, and Sonorski is a hit at that guard side. Plus, they've got one of the best offensive line coaches and Bill Callahan in the National Football League. Okay. They got one of the best offensive line coaches. Now you have two potential number one receivers here with Calvin Ridley and of course DeAndre Hopkins. So this team they're not going to be an issue not scoring the ball. Okay. Levis could be a star. I mean, the sky's the limit for Will Levis. Potentially, the sky's the limit. He's got to work on his pocket awareness. He's got to work on his flexibility in the pocket. He needs to do a lot. He needs to watch that Netflix video documentary with Patrick Mahomes from last year when he's doing all these weird and oddball stretches. Mahomes seems to never get hurt. That's what he needs to work on. But a lot of that can be developed here. I saw the potential when Levis last year. He had a lot of big-time flashes there. You say, well, he stays in the pocket too long. That's more of a good thing than a bad thing. I'd rather have a guy stay in the pocket too long than the guy who's always wanting to run after he can't make his first read. Phil Simms used to stay in the pocket and get blasted like that. Former Super Bowl champion quarterback with the New York Giants here. Come out with a bloody chin, but he'd make the big throw downfield. And we all know what happened with them. They got the ring there, him and Phil Simms and that group there with that Giants team. So this is a big deal. They can compete now. Jacksonville's got to be beside themselves, just barely getting outbid there by Tennessee. And again, $50 million over 4 years. This guy will be 33 years old. I'm sure there's some flexibility on the back end of that. If you compare at some of the pay that some of these wide receivers are getting right now, you've got Will Levis on a rookie. This also tells me they leave in Will Levis. You've got him on a rookie contract. You can overflow, and that's what they've done. You can just oversaturate. I mean, Burks he could come in great shape and set the world on fire, Now, this is a put up or shut up year for him. So essentially at the second round pick, and I screenshotted, this team right here picks 38th, all right, in their second round. They're not obligated to get a running back because they've already got one, okay? They got two. They're not obligated to get a wide receiver. They've got two. They're not even worried about Trayvon Burks now. They've got two guys under contract that are known commodities, 75 to 100 catch guys, okay? They can take the best player available at that second round pick. Now, if they trade that pick for Trayvon or for L'Jarius Sneed with the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't know if I'd want to give up a second-round pick for that, but they have options at 2. They're not obligated to fill that big hole because they reached in there like a giant eagle and just ate that pick right out, took it right out of the hands of the Jacksonville Jaguars. People in Tennessee are ecstatic. Even the reporters around the NFL nationally are ecstatic about that. With all that being said, Keith Engel has popped up at the bottom of the screen. Been looking forward to talking to you. Hey, buddy.
Hello, Robert. How are you?
Good to see you, man. Good. I was just talking about how Tennessee reached in like the jaws of life and snatched Calvin Ridley out from underneath the Jacksonville Jaguars. Did you hear about that today?
I did. Late. I didn't hear about it till late because I know the Patriots were a team that was very high on Ridley and hoping to find some way to bring him in. They had a lot of money to bring him in, but obviously he didn't want to come here. I'm sure Jacksonville is very, very distraught about losing Mr. Ridley. Well, he's a great player when he's not betting on games, I guess. So. Yeah.
Now that so this guy Nick Holtz was a passing game coordinator with him, and he was on the Jaguars last year. Now he's the Titans offensive coordinator, so he must have vouched for Ridley. Tennessee's got $50 million in guaranteed money that they've got invested into Ridley. But if you spend that out over a 4-year contract, that's not bad for today's market for these wide receivers.
No, I think that's a steal for a guy with his talent. Assuming again he stays on the straight and narrow, he could be the best receiver in football if he puts his mind to it. He's got the talent to do just that.
And putting him with DeAndre Hopkins, man, I mean that's
a great.
And you're a Will Levis guy. I wasn't going to go in this order. What do you think? I think the sky's the limit for Will. If you look at some of his highlights, man, he looks really talented.
I'm liking this minority, and you're one of the few guys who ever agrees with me. I go on with Mac and Jack, and I told them last year that again, you can't tell in 1 year with these guys.
Yeah.
5 years, he will be the best quarterback to come out of that class. I still believe that.
He might. Yeah.
He got only a handful of chances last year, really, and played a couple of really good games. I don't know what people – they want to pick his game apart.
Yeah.
But some guys are just winners, and I've got a feeling he's got that kind of makeup that he's going to do what needs to be done to win games. Is he as pretty as some guys at quarterback? No, but I don't need that. I need a guy who's got moxie and wants to go out there and play hard and win, and I love his makeup. And I still think he's going to be a real good quarterback. And putting these weapons in front of him is only going to accelerate his progress, obviously.
They've got Burks. They've got Hopkins. And now Ridley.
They need to adjust the running game a little bit. I'm not sure what they've done there. What have they done?
Tony Pollard.
Oh, that's right.
Dallas.
I forgot they signed Tony Pollard. I'm not crazy about him as an every down back. That's my only issue with him. I think they're going to have to get somebody to team with him.
Spears. They drafted Spears last year.
They might be a good twosome. So that's a good pickup. So look at, they've had, people have talked about the Eagles and people have talked about the Packers, and they've all done very good things, but don't overlook what Tennessee's done. This is a big move.
Yeah, this was huge. I mean, they signed a center out of Denver. They signed a cornerback, a Woozieway, from Cincinnati, who's a ball hawk himself.
Yep.
They quietly made they've signed Mason Rudolph as a backup from Pittsburgh as a quarterback there, and of course they brought Nick Folk back at kicker. So they made a lot of moves. They just hadn't made the big splash until today with Ridley.
What's Tannehill's situation there? He's still
a free agent.
Is he a free agent? He's not. I thought he was on the roster. Okay, so he's free to sign anywhere then.
I would have been okay if they would have brought back Tannehill as a backup, but
they
brought in Rudolph, who was playing really well last year at the end with Pittsburgh.
Again, being
as a backup.
not being close to that situation, but looking at it from the outside and looking at the two guys make up Mason Rudolph and Tannehill, I guess if I had a guy I wanted to sit behind Levis and maybe mentor him a little bit, it might be Rudolph and not Tannehill. Just looking from the outside.
Yeah, that's true. I thought maybe bring in a Garoppolo. Garoppolo's not bad for short stint. 3 or 4 games, he's good, and then he's going to get hurt. But he's as good as anybody for 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, it's important that these young guys have, number one, a good offensive coordinator, which they have.
I think so.
And a veteran, I think, that can help them in that quarterback room. I think it's very important, and a place where the Patriots went off the rails with Mac Jones the last 2 years.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Man, that's why I wanted to bring you on. I saw that, and I was like, I got to bring on Nick. I got to bring on Keith Engel. Mac Jones, a 6th-round pick. I mean, don't you think they could have got more for that, judging by what he did his rookie year?
Yeah, I thought they'd get more. I think they could have got more if they waited, but I think they just wanted to be done. They wanted a clean slate here before they brought Brissett in, who they signed yesterday. They're obviously not done at the quarterback position. They're going to do something in the draft. It's just a matter of where they're going to do it. I know where I'd like them to do it, but we'll see what happens with that.
Let me guess. Drake May?
No. Marvin Harrison, and go for a quarterback later. Wait for Bo Nix. Wait for Michael Penix. Maybe even wait for Michael Pratt even later. And I got a bridge in Jacoby Brissett. If you swing and miss those first 3 picks, man, you're going to set the franchise back another 5 years. I'm taking a sure thing. Marvin Harrison is a sure thing. I can play Jacoby Brissett for a year if I need to, and grab a quarterback in the second or the middle of the second round, or even later. If they don't like Penix, they don't like Bo Nix, who are probably going to be second-round picks, they can wait and get a Michael Pratt, who I love Michael Pratt's makeup.
Who is Michael Pratt?
He's out of Tulane. Really, I like his makeup a lot. He's probably going to be 4th or 5th rounder.
Okay.
I would think. And hey, if I were, maybe the Patriots ought to just wait and take whoever's available from Michigan at quarterback, no matter where they are in the depth chart, at 199 in the 6th round. It worked. It worked once before. Let's roll the dice.
McCarthy's back up.
It might be the backup to the backup for McCarthy.
You really threw me a fast. I was for sure you were going to say Drake May at 3.
I love Drake May. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback.
Me too.
I think he'll be better than the other 2 guys.
He may be the best. Well, him and Penix could be the best, but of his injury history,
who knows? But that's the thing. It's such a crapshoot with these guys. Look at the draft class when Mac Jones was in. It's horrible. None of them.
Yeah. Justin Fields is in the same class. He's not.
Fields, Wilson, and
oh wow,
the guy,
Lawrence.
Trey Lance.
Oh, Trey Lance, yeah.
So 4 guys.
Lawrence, the only one that may have been a hit.
4 guys in the first 15, and none of them have really panned out.
Yeah. And here's Carlos. Drake May might be the next Daniel Jones.
Yeah, well, or
he's way more highly thought after than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones shot up on the scene at the very end of his last year at Duke.
And Daniel Jones has had to pay for it every year since then. He's not his fault he got drafted where he got drafted. He got drafted too high, and he's had to pay for it. It's hurt in my mind, it's hurt his whole career where he got drafted because people expected too much out of Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones was kind of like that. He's a typical Christian Ponder. Titans brought a guy in, Jake Locker. Just way over the reaching,
Yeah, I do think Daniel Jones is better than either one of those 2 guys. I think
he's quicker than those guys
when he can play, when he's healthy. I mean, that's the other thing. You got to play too, right? So
he's missed a lot of games. So you want them to go with the best available player?
I do. I don't think it'll happen. But because you need both things, right?
Yeah.
To me, the surest thing is Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the surest thing in the draft to me.
Yeah.
But
So
again,
you're okay with him blowing off the combine and everything?
yeah, I don't care about that. I
Okay.
mean, so did Caleb Williams. There's enough film on these guys. They can only hurt themselves by going, in my mind.
Yeah,
So
they're pretty high. Yeah, I get you, man.
they're gonna do their own, pro days and whatnot where they're comfortable on their field with their guys throwing to them or catching it, depending what position we're talking about. So yeah, I don't have that big a deal. The combine's good for, if heck, some of the teams don't even send their personnel anymore.
I know Kyle Shanahan didn't show up.
Yeah, so it's good. It's still good for guys like Michael Penix, right? They can improve their draft stock. But for Caleb Williams or Drake May or Marvin Harrison, what's the point? You can only hurt yourself.
So, what are your thoughts on their free agent pickups so far for the Patriots?
Again, I like bringing Brissett in as a bridge. No risk there. 1 year, $8 million. No risk there.
Yeah.
I like the tight end that they brought in to team with Hunter Henry, and his name's escaping me right now.
Yeah, and they brought back Hunter Henry, right?
They did bring Hunter Henry back, which I like. I mean, I
like Henry too.
I think he played pretty well. Austin Hooper's the other guy I was trying to think of.
Austin Hooper, yeah.
I think they like to play 2 tight end sets. At least they have in the past. Obviously, we got a new coaching staff, so we have to see what happens there. But
yeah,
I like that. I like Antonio Gibson can do a lot of things that the Patriots
former commander. Yeah.
I like, even though we've had trouble on the offensive line, I like the guys that they brought back.
Wanawu or whatever his name is.
I like, Wana. I could never say his name either.
Me neither.
I had it until you said that.
Yeah.
Awanahu and Okafor I like as well, and Tyrone Wheatley Jr., who still hasn't played. They brought him from the Browns last year, so it's almost like a draft pick because he hasn't played. But he's got a lot of potential. He just had injuries and still has yet to get on the field. So he may help rebuild that offensive line a little bit. And they brought Kendrick Bourne back too, which I think is very important.
Yeah, he's a big play guy, man.
Yeah.
Get down the field. About all these free agents, what do you think about free agency so far? Are there any surprises, just any team in the league that really caught you by surprise? Anything particular?
Saquon Barkley saying what the Eagles caught me by surprise. Yeah. I'm not surprised.
The enemy.
I'm not surprised he left. I'm surprised he went, directly to the enemy, but he can go wherever he wants. I'm sure Giant fans are up in arms about that.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised maybe at how aggressive the Packers were and going out to get Jacobs, which I think is people, I didn't get a chance to chime in when they were talking about it on the show earlier that, they didn't see any difference and they already had Aaron Jones. Well, Aaron Jones is going to turn 30 years old, which isn't young.
He's taking a beating too.
And he's taking a big beating over his time in the NFL.
Especially last year. Yeah.
And we're talking about 3 or 4 years younger. That's a big deal in the NFL at that position. And you got a guy just hitting his prime. So I think that was a great move. And the McKinney, the quarterback they took from the Giants, I think is a great signing too. Their defense needed some help. I think that team right now might be better than the Lions.
Are they a dark horse Super Bowl team?
I think it's possible if Jordan Love continues what he was doing at the end of last year. This team,
so much talent at receiver too.
Yeah, they definitely could make a run.
Wow. What about Brian Burns going to the Giants?
How does Carolina in 2 years? Well, 3
they
years,
screwed that up.
How do you trade Christian McCaffrey and Burns and not get any first-round picks at all? How?
Supposedly, they had 2 first-rounders at the trade deadline.
I don't know what you're thinking about there. That's all you need to know about why that organization is where they are. Is you trade 2 guys of that caliber, and you never came back with 1 first-round pick, not 1.
Right. Do you think that's okay for Carlos? Act like he didn't like that pickup.
I'm sure he didn't. He's a really good pass rusher. I think he helps that. I think he's a good addition to that Giant defense. I mean, yes, I know Carlos is going to say, well, we need offensive line. We need wide receivers.
But they had 2 second-round picks, Carlos.
Yeah.
It was the Dexter Lawrence. It was the Leonard Williams pick from Seattle that they used from what I read.
Yeah. And I think the Giants are a great wild card in this draft. It's very interesting what they're going to do in that first round. If they take a quarterback, I wouldn't be shocked if they do.
Yeah.
Probably going to be McCarthy. McCarthy right now has moved up to like the fourth, I think, on the depth chart, but they may not get him.
Do you buy that McCarthy hype?
I think he's going to be a good player. Yes.
Okay.
He didn't get a chance to throw the ball as much as these other guys did, obviously in college because of the offense he played in. But from what I saw from him from his junior year or when he started playing to the end of his senior year, especially in those 2 playoff games, he came up big, and that means a lot. Yeah. Coming up big on a big stage is really important to me.
Mark Schlereth said he's really good at reading NFL defenses, and he could audible at the line of scrimmage. He's got a high football IQ for what the NFL wants from a quarterback, is what Mark Schlereth says.
Yeah, and that's what you need because the defenses are so much more complicated in the pros than they are in college, right? And a lot of guys never adapt, and we've seen that.
Yeah,
guys with a lot of talent who just can't, make it work. I think McCarthy's going to be a guy that makes it work.
Man, wow, JJ. See, this is a really, and then you look back. You mentioned the 21 draft and all those duds, but look back at the 2020 draft where you had Justin Herbert, you've had Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. Well, I'm sure I'm missing one of them.
Hurts is at the back of the first round, right? Burrow. Yeah. Who else was there? Burrow. There was another one I thought. Burrow, Herbert, and
Tua.
Yeah, Tua. Yeah.
They've all got second contracts.
Yeah, that's worked out. I mean, that's worked out well. But again, it's a crapshoot. We just have no way to know who's good and who's. I mean, you think but when you don't know, man, it's ugly. It's ugly.
Yeah, again, it could be a Christian Bonner and Jay Locker.
and look around at the starting quarterbacks. I mean, how many of them were top 10 picks? Not that as many as you think.
Well, I mean, Brock Purdy was this last one. I think he was drafted in 21, right?
He was drafted in 22.
Or 22, maybe.
22.
Okay, yeah.
He was a rookie. Yeah, he was a rookie.
Very last pick, man. Go figure.
I mean, that's not going to happen that often. I get it, but you can find quarterbacks in the second, third, and fourth round. They're there.
Yeah.
Or later in the first round.
Yeah. Speaking of fourth round picks, I had to get your is there, and I've asked somebody this earlier this week. I think it was Rich Ferris, my Tennessee guy. Have you ever seen a player get more money with less actual success on the field than Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins is the best negotiator in the history of quarterbacks in the NFL. Without a doubt.
He's got a great agent or something.
Now, to be fair to Kirk Cousins has had a lot of success in this league. He's won a lot of games.
Regular season, yeah.
I'm sure Atlanta will win the South next year. They could win, who knows? I don't know. Maybe they'll win 12 games.
Right.
But the guy's won one playoff game in his career.
Yeah.
And that's what I say about guys like McCarthy who play better on the bigger stage. Cousins isn't that guy.
Yeah.
He always has numbers, and his teams have had really good records for the most part. Yeah. But he can't. It doesn't translate when the brightest lights are on him.
I think, Keith, they just wanted to buy some job security. The coaching staff and the management says Cousins will give us job security. He won't win us a Super Bowl, but he won't get us fired in these few years.
Yeah.
And we're just going to pay this guy coming off Achilles injury, 36 years old, $100 million guaranteed.
The thing is, and I get it, it's a gamble, but where else were the Falcons going to go? Yeah. They need a quarterback.
They could have took a chance in the draft too. They pick 8th.
They would have.
Look, they could have got your guy Mac Jones.
Yeah, they could have, but I don't think Mac Jones is going to be able to be a starter in this league again right away.
Wow.
He's going to need some rehabilitation, I think.
I looked up their stats. Mac Jones, when he had McDaniels, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Not last year because Kirk Cousins got hurt. In 22, Cousins was 29 and 12, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions with mega talent at receiver, obviously, and playing in a dome. Why not go get Mac Jones for $2.7 million?
I would have.
Versus 40, Keith.
I would have. I mean, again, I would have. If I'm a team that's quarterback needy, I would have taken a roll of the dice on Mac Jones. But
yeah, and then maybe draft somebody to compete with him or something.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you don't give him the job. Go sign a veteran to compete with him. I don't know who,
or a vet somewhere. You know.
I mean, there's guys there.
Tannehill, somebody.
Yeah, or Mariota Mariota didn't work very well there, did he?
Yeah, I've never been a Mariota.
He walked away.
Carlos must be related to Sam Howell. He loves Sam Howell, man. I mean, are you his agent, Carlos?
Howell's, he'll be
he looked good for first month.
He's a guy who will be around the league for a long time. You know what he reminds me of? I don't know why, because he doesn't look like
Magic.
Yes. Yes. He's going to bounce around the league. I'll bet you. He's going to have a big year here and there to get himself contracts.
Yeah.
Nobody was better in a contract year than Ryan Fitzpatrick, let me tell you.
Man, the first 4 games, he's always great.
Then
he runs out of gas. Oh, man, I got to ask you basketball stuff. Okay. Who do you think's going to be the 1 seeds in this tournament? I take your advice very seriously.
Yeah. I think 3 of them are pretty much a lock right now in Purdue, Houston, and UConn. I think there's 3 teams alive for that 4th one. I think it's UNC, Carolina, Arizona, and
Tennessee.
Tennessee would be the.
I would probably go with Carolina. Tennessee is so hit and miss, Keith. I'll say that, and they'll go far
as always. And and this happened to me the last 2 years. Yeah. And I said, I swear this is Rick Barnes' best team. But then they go through these stretches where they can't put the ball. They couldn't hit the ocean.
They couldn't throw a peanut. And
they play great defense, but then they go through these stretches where they can't put the ball in the basket, and it always seems to pop up at the worst time, and they go out the second round of the tournament.
They'll probably make it to the Sweet 16 like they always do.
Now, if they win the SEC, I think they'll get that 4th seed because let's just say, well, I shouldn't say that because Carolina, if they beat, it's probably going to be Duke and Carolina in the ACC. It's not very deep, the ACC this year.
But that was a big win last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're the 2 best teams, and they're probably going to play a 3rd time, I would think, in the ACC championship based on what we've seen. So if they were to win that tournament and Tennessee won, then I think that's going to be a coin flip. But if Arizona wins the Pac-12, and I don't think they beat out either one of those teams because the Pac-12 is so weak this year.
Wow. Who's the best team, Keith?
Watch USC out there at the Pac-12, by the way.
Really?
Pac-12 tournament. They're playing really good basketball the last month or so. They won their last 3. They played Arizona really tough about 2 weeks ago.
What rank are they? I've got the AP 25 here. I can't find them.
They're not in the top 25. They're in the top 60. They're under 500 in conference.
Okay.
They're 14 and 16, I think, for the year. But they played.
You hear that, folks? USC. Is it the Bronny James coming off the bench?
They could make a run here. They got Arizona tomorrow afternoon. They won today.
Okay.
They got Arizona tomorrow afternoon, so they could be an outside pick there in the last Pac-12. Best team in the country? I think Houston's the best team in the country.
Wow. Not UConn?
Nope. I like UConn. I think they're very good. Danny Hurley's got to tone it down, first of all. Danny Hurley's got to stop getting the confrontations with fans.
Oh, is he?
3 times in the last month. He's nearly gone up into the stands or called guys.
All right, Bill O'Brien.
Right? You got to stop that nonsense. And look, at Houston has been on a really good run for the last 5 years. Calvin Sampson is one of the most underrated coaches in the country. They play really good defense. They got some really strong guards. And when you get into and so does UConn.
Are their guards, are they veterans?
They are.
That's usually what gets it. Rebounding and veteran guard play.
Veteran guard play. That's one of the reasons.
The best rebounding team in the country, you think, from what you've seen?
I might say it might be Carolina. It might be
really.
Yeah, I like Carolina's.
This may be the Carolina team of a few years ago that made it all the way to the.
Yeah, well, this is a better team. That team caught everybody by surprise. In Hubert Davis's first year, it was kind of a disappointment.
I remember that
until they got into the tournament, and they made a run all the way to the Final Four. And last year was a bigger disappointment. A lot of people wanted Hubert Davis's head.
Yeah. Calvin Sampson let me down a bunch in Oklahoma back in the day.
Yeah. He's a better coach now. I mean, he went through some issues at Indiana, obviously.
Recruiting issues or something, right?
Yeah. It was telephone calls to recruits and stuff. I mean, stuff that just seems kind of petty.
Looking at it now, right?
Yeah. Well, he was out in the desert there for a long time because he was an assistant coach in the NBA, and before he got the Houston job, it was probably 10 years before he got another job.
Time goes by quick. Now, Purdue, is this basically the same group that was there last year with Purdue?
Pretty close. One of their guards, they lost one of their veteran guards last year, but
okay.
Edney's been there. This is his fourth year. You don't see a lot of guys staying that long, but
he must not.
But they
must not be super talented, but he's still pretty good, huh?
They've been a big disappointment, though, pretty much each one of those years in the tournament.
They have.
They have not gone.
Remember, we said that about Virginia one year. Then the next year, they came all the way back and won the championship.
Yeah, and maybe it's the Purdue's year, right? I mean, there's no other play. You can't stop Zach Edney if he gets hot. There's nobody in this tournament that's going to stop him. I mean, you know what? They might be the best rebounding team in the country now that I think.
Wow, Purdue. Okay, yeah. Because I just thought about them being there last year, and I know UConn's. I heard a stat about UConn that was disturbing, that they don't play well on the road against ranked teams. Did you hear about that? When they lost to Creighton a few weeks ago. Yeah,
they don't. The Big East has got some good teams, and they've, for the most part, have done very well against them in the regular season.
Yeah,
the last two seasons. To me, there's a couple of factors going against them. It's hard to repeat. Nobody's repeated in 17 or 18 years. Florida and Billy Donovan with Billy Donovan.
Yeah, that was when we and Carlos were in school at Austin Peay.
That's the last team to do it 17 or 18 years ago. And before that, it was probably 17 years when Duke repeated. So, not everybody repeats. It's not UCLA where somebody's going to go win 7 or 8 in a row.
92 and 93, right, Duke? With Laettner and those guys?
Yep, they won back-to-back, and then Florida, and before that, it was all the way back to UCLA. So it doesn't happen that often. You've had teams with a chance, and most of the teams that have come back for that second try have not even gotten very far in the tournament. They've been out in the first or second round. So.
Wow. Yeah. What about St. John's with Pitino? You think could they get to the Sweet 16?
If they get in, they got to get in first, right? They're right on.
Oh, really? I know they had a big win the other day, though.
They did. They've had some really good wins down the stretch here. They beat Creighton in the Garden.
Who beat Connecticut.
They've got the tournament's being played in the Garden, which is good for St. John's. And Rick Pitino's a really good coach, especially in these types of situations. Yeah. But tomorrow basically is if they lose tomorrow, they're probably out. It'd be my guess.
I think got to win tomorrow.
Tomorrow's a playing game. They're playing Seton Hall. Seton Hall's had a really good year under Shasheen Holloway, too.
Okay.
They won some big games in the Big East this year, and I think that very well could be a play-in game for those two teams. Now, if St. John's gets in, I think they could win 2 games easy and get into the
Did you hear him call out his players a few weeks ago? Then he apologized because they were soft.
He did, but that's classic Rick Pitino. And guess what? All the people
he can't guard anybody.
All the people that ripped him for that, they've been on a roll ever since.
They have. So I love Pitino. I know he's older, but man, I still like Pitino.
He's a polarizing figure. You either love him, he's like Jim Harbaugh. You either love him or you hate him. And Rick Pitino might be a lot of things, but you know what he is? He's a very good basketball coach. He's a great coach. He's about to take his 6th team to the NCAA, maybe, which nobody's ever done that. Nobody's ever done it with 5.
Yeah, he's the man. He didn't catch lightning in the bottle. You can't say that with what he did with Louisville and Kentucky. Is Marquette perhaps a sleeper?
Kolnick being out hurts them a lot.
Wow.
He's gonna make. He missed the last 2 regular season games. They sat him, and he's not gonna play the quarterfinal game in the Big East tournament. I think he's got an high ankle sprain, and that's not good.
Is that who's that? The point guard?
He is, yeah, and he's a really good 3-point shooter, and you need that type of player come tournament time. They're going to be in the tournament. They'll be highly ranked no matter what happens in the Big East tournament.
So watch out for Marquette to go out early, perhaps.
If he's not healthy, they could. And I love Marquette. I love what Shaka Smart's done there.
I love Shaka.
But this could be an early exit if he's not close to 100% by tournament time. I might sit him the whole Big East tournament. I mean, what's the difference whether you're 3 or 4 seed? I mean, it doesn't really matter.
That's true. That's true.
I might
Do
not
you see Kentucky making a run? I heard Shepherd's having a great year.
Shepherd's having a great year. Kentucky's bounced back. They've had a couple of down years before this, and just I almost said Krzyzewski.
I wish.
Calipari's done a great job there. He's another guy who doesn't get enough credit, right?
Yeah, great recruiter. They're so talented. They leave to the NBA so quickly.
You know what though? And people say, "Why has he been down? What's happened? He's lost his golden touch." And part of it is the SEC is much better than it was.
It really is.
Every night is a war.
South Carolina's a good team. They're tough to beat, man.
It's the best conference in the country, top to bottom. I mean,
I would have never said that 20 years ago.
The Big 12 might be better at the top, but I mean, it's not as deep. I can tell you that right now. The SEC is really deep. You got teams like South Carolina who's picked to finish last, and they could go out and make some noise in the tournament.
Yeah, they beat Tennessee. They beat Kentucky.
Yeah, they've had a really good year, and Mississippi State's had a good year. Auburn, Bruce Pearl's had another good year at Auburn this year. So
wow.
There's some teams there that could do some damage in the tournament. So
he's a motivator. Yeah,
Bruce Pearl.
It's really hard to pick Kentucky because they've known to lay eggs because they got such young players. The moment's too big for them.
Yeah, they've actually been kind of down since they lost to St. Peter's in the first round 3 years ago.
Oh yeah. I just want to get your take on them, I guess, because I noticed they went up in the AP. That just tells you there's just not that many great teams. But they're up to 9th. They got 8 losses, Keith.
Yeah, there's a lot of good teams. There's probably – I was looking at this earlier. Let me look again real quick. I throw out Iowa State, to be honest with you. They're 7th in the country, but to me that's that might be the most overranked team in the country.
Iowa State, yeah. Boy, they've killed me in the past.
Well, Big 12 –
What about Gonzaga? You think they could do anything?
You know what? They lost to St. Mary's in their conference tournament the other night, but I don't think that's a bad thing. They're getting in the tournament. Gonzaga has been really highly ranked for quite a few years now. Going into the tournament, they got to 2 finals and didn't win.
Yeah.
I want to see what they can do. Mark Few's done his best coaching, I think, when that team has not been expected to do anything.
This is the Gonzaga we know from 15 years ago.
Yeah. And they might be more dangerous here. So we'll see how that works out. I think they could make a run from the back of this field. But I think there's like 12 teams with a legitimate chance to win this thing. I really do.
Wow. Well, I wrote down a few here. USC. You said you kind of like Purdue, but
USC not necessarily to do much in the term, but I think USC's got a chance to win the Pac-12. Yes,
win the Pac-12 and maybe a Sweet 16 type of appearance.
They could do some damage.
Or win a game in the tournament.
They got to win the tournament. They got to win their tournament to get in there. That's the only problem. So
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Keith Engel, everybody. Now, I know your show changes all the time. What's your new times now?
I think we've been pretty steady. We changed only a couple of different times. So tonight, Wednesday nights, we're on with the college sports huddle at 7:00.
That's Eastern, folks. Yeah.
We did move a few months ago. We moved the Friday morning show. Are You Serious to 9:00?
Yes.
Sunday has been 8:30 for most of the run there. So
and that's 8 a.m. Yeah, 8:30 a.m.
All 8 a.m. Eastern time. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. All the times my shows are Eastern time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then do you still come on the Mac and Jack and Jim? And
I'm on with Mac on Friday mornings, Sunday mornings. I do the this North. I never remember what we call this.
Northeast team,
Northeast
NESSP.
professional Northeast professional sports. I think we call it the Wednesday night at 6:00.
Oh, okay. That's Jim Jeffcoat, but I haven't seen him lately.
Jim has been. I've been meaning to ask Mac if he's holding out or something. For Jim's been missing in action, but maybe with long football season, maybe he's taking a little hiatus. He's still doing his show with Byron Williams, though.
Oh, what's right on Wednesday tonight? Yeah,
tonight actually. They're probably just getting done about now. So I know he's been doing that show, but I haven't seen him on Mac and Jack. So I do go on that show. Gone on with Sonia Pearson a few times on her show, and your show, obviously, I guessed on.
Yeah,
so you never know.
I really appreciate it, Keith, and maybe I'll hit you up around the Sweet 16 or something.
You can hit me up anytime, Robert. Anytime.
All right, everybody. Keith Engel, everybody. Thanks again, buddy.
Have a good night.
See you. You too, man. All right, everybody. I will be back on tomorrow. I'll be back on tomorrow, 8:30 or 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, of course. I'm going to go over all this stuff. There's a lot going on in free agency. It's starting to simmer down a little bit. Now, a lot of people are getting signed. Of course, there's still some players out there. I may even give you somewhat of a ranking next week or tomorrow. Give you a ranking of who I think's done what. And the $64,000 question: what's the Bears going to do with Justin Fields? He's the odd man out. So, and of course, I'll have Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez, who is really into the tournament. Purdue needs to close games better. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll ask Carlos next on Friday. Of course, I have the Mad New Yorker in. A lot to talk about there. Big week for the Giants and the Jets here. So have a good week or good night, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. Again, same place, same time. Hero Sports.